Good evening and welcome to Success in the City. My name's Helen Webster and I'm with the lovely
Sandra Scott, and our fabulous guest today is...
I'm Matty Caine from First Person Project.
Oh, thanks, Matty. We've been trying to get Matty on the show for ages and ages and ages, and I've proper Facebook stalked him and everything. And then I was like, right, we need to just book a date. So we booked the date and he's on. So thanks very much for giving your time up. And we're dead excited to find out everything about the First Person Project and all the amazing stuff that you do. All right. But first, we're going to shout out to the kids. Any young people or little people who've done amazing things. San, have you got any little people?
Yeah, my little people who've just worked out hard and I think I did say last week, but some people, they've all doing brilliantly, Asa, but it's their commitment to it. Tom's is coming next week to see him in the holidays. Kids who have finished school already had sessions today. No, keep it coming. And it's like they've got a thirst for knowledge now, after having the gaps for a few years with COVID and everything, and they're catching up on everything now. So it's all good stuff, really.
Brilliant. So brilliant. Matty, have you got any little people, young people you want to shout out to?
Yeah. So we do a bit of work with Thrive, the CIC in town, and they've got loads of boss kids that come through, young people really, the age up to 24. But there's one young man. He's not through Thrive. He's through a different partner that we have. His name's Anthony. Keep it at that really. But the strides he's made in the last few weeks are incredible. I swear to God. This is a kid who, honestly, he was locking himself away in his room and in his flat. He lives on his own, and then he's come down to our hub. Yesterday, he's done Reiki. He's had a chat with the guys and that, and then he was off rock climbing. Tomorrow he's going rock climbing again with one of our guys, Michael. But the kid's coming on leaps and bounds. It's brilliant. 20 years.
Oh, amazing! Big shout out to him. Well done. And we'll find out more about how you get involved and everything like that in a minute. And I'm going to shout out to all the kids who are still on the nice list. You've got like 5 more days. Right. So you've got 5 more days. Father Christmas is still watching through every light and every little beam that you see when you're around in shops and everything. You're still watching. You've got 5 more sleeps. Right. So stay on that nice list. So success this week for you personally, something ace that's happened. Can be anything. Doesn't have to be like major. Do you want to go first, Sam, or do you want me to go first?
Well, I will. Yeah, I was quite pleased because the Ukrainian course was completed last Wednesday, our very first one ever. So I was made up about that, this Ukrainian for beginners. And they want to carry on. Actually, they've all said they want to carry on. I was like really taken aback because it's, and fair play to them because they're all doing it for the job. They're such nice people and, And then also our very first sign language course finished as well.
That was mine.
Yeah, I know. Well, was it? Oh, sorry. You can say it because you taught it. So that's quite valid. Sorry.
Well, no, because I just wanted to say about so we taught the first BSL British Sign Language class, and one of the people who came to class had a little chat with the fella, a deaf man in the pub, and she was just like beside herself, which was amazing. And one of the Ukrainian people who've been on Sandra's Ukrainian course, one of them had been the play, hadn't there? Well, it was Fran who was one of our ex-guests, and she was able to direct them and ask them did they want tea and coffee. So it's lovely when you can have a conversation with somebody, isn't it? Make them feel welcome and stuff. And I'm going to give a big shout out to Joe Swinney and her choir, who are called the Tone Roses. So last Thursday night, I was shopping in John Lewis. Walked through and I thought, there's a choir, that's that nice. And I said to Phil, come on, I said, let's go and have a little watch because it's nice to support people. So I stood there and I was watching and I was having a little listen. I thought, there's Margie, that's good, isn't it? And then I saw Jo. So that was lovely to see her. And I tried to do a video but failed epically, coming down the escalator thinking I was dead cool.
Oh, I saw that. I watched that video and I was like,
I know, because I went like that, didn't I, with the phone, so you had to move your head. So apologies, the video was rubbish, but the idea was there. Matty, what's your success this week?
Well, I feel like I've got a few this week. I'm kind of, I don't really pat myself on the back. I don't really like doing it, but I'll stick to one of our First Person projects. So over the weekend I was doing some invoicing, and then I was just doing some kind of reflecting on the past year. And since April this year, we've engaged and supported 7,500 people.
I know. I saw that, and I was like, shut the front door, because I read it and I thought, he's got and I thought, no, it does say 2022.
Hang on a minute. I'm just going to show me reaction in sign language.
Go on. Yes.
I love it. That's made an impression on me. You have to excuse me. I'm on fire. Oh, Ronan's not well, and I'm a bit concerned. I'm burning. I'm absolutely
like just hold it together for another 40 minutes. Don't be getting sick.
I know. No, I haven't got time.
7,500 people. Well done. And we'll find out more about that, won't we, in a minute?
Yeah. So kind of explain how that's happened, really. I still can't believe it.
Phenomenal figures, absolutely incredible. So we played this or that. Okay, we're going to ask you questions. All right. It's not hard, don't worry. It's not like Mastermind. Who's going first, Sandy or you?
You're at a real advantage here with Matty because you know a lot more about Matty than I do.
Only because I've Facebook stalked him. Right. Terry's chocolate orange or Ferrero Rocher?
Ferrero Rocher.
Oh, no. Ferrero Rocher. What about you, San?
Terry's chocolate orange, hands down.
Really?
It's Terry's, it's not yours.
I know.
That's terrible.
I told somebody that Terry's chocolate orange was one of your 5 a day, and they believed me.
That's really bad.
No, I was like, yeah, I said you can eat it over Christmas. I was like, calories don't count over Christmas as a little joke. And then I said, and Terry's chocolate orange, I meant to count as like one of your 5 a day, so you're all right. And they believe me.
Oh.
I love Terry's chocolate orange, but I think Ferrero Rocher, and I can eat a box of like 12 or whatever it is in one sitting easy.
Yeah. I like the Raffaello ones, no, the white ones.
Do you? Yeah, the white ones with the coconut. No.
Right, okay, I'm just going to say this dead fast. So I was on the plane one time, and this guy was quite obnoxious at the front of the forward cabin. By the forward cabin, I mean club cast. And he goes, don't you know who I am? And I didn't say, why have you forgotten? Which was often the temptation. And he said, I'm the chauffeur from the Ferrero Rocher ad. Every time I see them, I just think, plonker.
She said, well, I'm the ambassador. Remember the ambassador?
Yeah, the ambassador.
Yeah.
Oh, you're not the ambassador then?
Yeah. Oh, never mind. Oh.
Don't you recognise me?
Yeah.
And he said, I'm the chauffeur from the Ferrero. I thought, God,
just a div, aren't they? Go on, son. What's yours?
Okay. Pantomime or musical?
Musical. Musical, hands down.
down.
I mean, not to be fair, not hands down. That's a bit unfair on pantomimes, but I do like musicals.
Yeah, I think I'd go musicals, but I do love a bit of a panto as well. What about you, San?
I would say musicals overall, but I'm really excited. Is John Howie saying panto? Because I'm going to see the Scouse panto tomorrow, hopefully, if I don't go on fire. Yeah,
which is hilarious. You'll love it. You'll love it.
Well, I went on your recommendation, as you said, you can take Ronan, but not your mother.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Okay, mulled wine or Bailey's hot chocolate?
Oh God, this is like
San.
I'll have Bailey's hot chocolate only because of the Irish whiskey part and the Bailey's. I don't like mulled wine. It reminds me of Cliff Richard. No offense, Cliff.
Speak to me about this. This is hilarious. Richard, so when I worked for Monarch before I went to BA, we'd be taxiing along and it'd go mistletoe and wine. And every year they played the same Christmas track. So you switched it on when you got on the plane, did all the jobs, you heard it. By the time when it said take off, that was the same song. So I just think of Closing Happens, mistletoe and wine. Cliff has ruined Christmas for me.
And the rest of us, yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. So I do love mulled wine though. It's really, really nice, particularly if you're away somewhere in the snow. Bailey's hot chocolate wins hands down.
Really? I'm gonna go mulled wine and I make my own.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
In the slow cooker.
Yeah, I've never had this.
I'll make you some because you can just leave it on all day and just keep going over. Perfect. Go on, San. Your next one.
Okay then. Seasonal questions.
Oh wow.
Do you like roast turkey with Christmas dinner or roast ham?
Neither. I'm vegetarian.
That was dead easy. That was dead easy. I had a veggie Christmas last year. I fed everyone else turkey, and we normally have goose, but I fed everyone turkey, and we had veggie.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to say goose, then I was like in hysterics inside.
Right, I was going to say turkey or goose, and then I thought nobody has goose, Sandra.
Nobody has goose except in fairy tales.
Only Sandra, yes, Sandra, that's Sandra. She has goose.
I was economising.
Yeah.
We normally have goose. I've been looking online to see if I can see one. Our Ronan wasn't here, that's why. I had my auntie and uncle and my mum, and they'd have had a hissy fit had they not had turkey. That's why I did turkey.
Okay.
Well done.
Had a nut roast.
Yeah, nut roast. Yeah, we'll have a nut roast. This well, we go to with Ralph's mum's been there for ages, but I'll make a nut roast. I'll take that. There's a few of us that are veggie.
All right, cool.
I did a jackfruit last year. I did the Bosch Boys jackfruit as the the chicken, which is amazing. So my last one, shopping on Christmas Eve or shopping the beginning of like November, December for your prezzies.
No. Christmas Eve, easy peasy.
No, November, and the stress of that hell. And I've done it. I've done the Christmas Eve shop at a retail park years ago. And from then on, I always put a note in my diary, as was. Now it's on the phone. It's the 1st of November. Don't go through that ever again. So I try and do it as early as I can.
So I'm normally the 23rd. Normally the 23rd of December's mine.
Don't get me wrong. I've still got a couple of bits to pick up, but definitely out the way first.
But I have bought. I went shopping last week, and so I feel like dead organised.
Yeah.
Like super organised. Right, your last go, Sam.
Okay. Boxing Day. Visiting family or just staying on the sofa all day eating leftovers?
I'm watching football.
I'm watching football.
Yeah, second one. Definitely sitting down, eating food, watching football.
Very much.
See football.
Going to the family to watch the football and eating their leftovers.
Most of them are Evertonians, so I can't do that.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
But no, yeah, footy, watching stuff and films, and like doing that.
Just having a nice little chill. Yeah. Perfect. Right, we know a little bit more about Matty and what he likes to do. Now we're going to find out loads about the First Person Project, how Matty got into it, how he started it all. So Matty and I have met across a room a few times in different courses and things like that. I don't think we've ever met like face-to-face talking, but I have stalked you on Facebook and watched how the First Person Project has grown and grown and all the amazing stuff that they do. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Matty. You've got about 40-ish minutes. Sandra and I will just chip in as
probably at the same time. Ask the same questions. It's what we do.
Yeah, we're dead slick.
No, boss. Okay, so where to start? So I've been a mental health nurse for a long time. Been in mental health itself for 17 years, but I've been a mental health nurse for well over a decade of that. Most of it was spent in the NHS. I was in a variety of different positions up and down the country, but mostly at a kind of senior level, really a managerial level. Kind of chasing, I'm kind of renowned for not really liking labels. I hate any type of label. Whether it's describing an individual or describing a community, labels like disadvantaged or impoverished, and I hate all that nonsense. It just annoys me. Probably because I'm from Everton Road, and that's what we got called, all these things. But what I've done in my early professional career was I chased after the kind of quote unquote complex people, and ended up kind of working in prisons and with different types of diagnosis, which are kind of known for being quite hard to work with. And the reason for that was to challenge myself and actually just to test myself. And when I kind of got to these places like up in Newcastle and Cambridge and whatever, I realised that a lot of the time it wasn't the individual that was that needed the support, but it wasn't those. They were really misunderstood. The service wasn't always adequate. That was kind of the conclusion. And that's not me knocking services or knocking individual staff within services, not at all. It's just that kind of modern problems and the complexity of different kind of things that happen. The services that we have aren't necessarily designed to fix that. And there's a time and a place for professionals to be involved in somebody's life. And there's actually probably more times than not when a professional doesn't need to be involved. And we go back a few years, things like community and stuff was really, really strong. And a lot of the time you didn't go to, if somebody was lonely, you didn't go to social services. You just went and done the shopping with somebody, or you knocked on the little old lady's house, whatever. It exists.
You know what, Matty, you're not wrong there. People pop in, and I was talking to my son like this the other day. And I know my neighbours either side of me and opposite. I haven't been here so long, but still, it's over a year. You know, where I was a kid, I lived in a road in Egbert, in a street really, and I could name every family in every single house in that road. And even and there was a lady we didn't like in the road. She wasn't very kind, but we still popped in. My mum still passed us something in at Christmas and was kind, and I'll give that to, you know, Mrs. What's-her-face. You're like, really? You know, and still just to be kind. And that's what people did.
That's exactly it. You know,
you had loads of aunties, didn't you? Loads of aunties and uncles who lived in the road, didn't they? You know, they were like your mum's mates and things like that, and next door neighbours and things. You had loads of aunties and stuff, yeah.
There was always one person that you went to, if you cut your leg or something, you always went to someone in the street.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I forgot my doggy all the time, and I'd go in and Mrs. Farrell would make me toast.
Yeah.
So why you did it? Mrs. Farrell's again. You know, it was just normal. Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of in services, so when you're working in services and you're leading kind of services and whatever, you get swept away with it a little bit, and there's all this kind of ego can happen a little bit where you think that you're the expert and the people that you're there treating and all this type of stuff, and you can kind of get wrapped up in it. But obviously I was working in mental health, and alongside all this, I've never started uni when I was 19. I'm 35 now. I've never left, right? So I was kind of always chipping, doing different courses and whatever. So like I'm looking at my practice and looking at the places I'm working, probably through paraprofessional kind of practice, practitioner eyes and academic eyes really, and always questioning what we were doing. So for years I was in this kind of dilemma, and I was always getting myself into trouble and getting stood on the naughty step in the NHS because I was always coming out with these things that were called rebellious or whatever, where I was saying, you know, why are we spending that money there, or why are we doing it this way when we can do it that way? And when I was younger, what I was saying was right, but how I was saying it probably wasn't. I was youthful arrogance, kind of, you know, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And in 2018, it kind of come to a head. I was a bit like, you know, you're going to have to do something about this. You can't just you're not happy where you are. It's in my 30s at this point. I could have stayed and had a really comfortable career, pension and all this type of stuff. But you could foresee the way society was going. The Tories were in then as well, obviously. And it was just getting decimated year on year. Obviously, this is pre-COVID. But then in 2000, so I was in the Northeast, late 2017, decided to come home in 2018. Kind of early 2018, and then my mum, it was July really 2018, she became really unwell really quick. She developed something called sepsis. Don't know how much you know about. She went from you know, she had long-standing conditions. She was a woman in her late 60s, but she got sepsis, and within a few days, about 8 days, she died.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and basically the thing with sepsis is it's preventable. Yeah. So I'm a nurse. I think I'm doing pretty well in my career. You know, every piece of validation you look around for to see that you're doing well and everything else would suggest there was. But then I'm kind of, you know, in and around my mum every single day, and she's got this really preventable condition, and she's died from it. Oh. So for the kind of 5 weeks, so she died, and then for kind of the about 5 weeks thereafter, I was like a robot. Yeah. I'd go to the hospital when she was on life support. I'd have me work lanyard in my pocket, all of this stuff. I'd have shirts on and stuff like that. My family don't really have that background. They would ask questions like, "She's going to be all right, lads," and everything else. And she, of course, I knew the truth. You know, even when she got moved to palliative care, I knew she was dying. I knew she was gone. But I had to lie and say, you know, yeah, it'll be fine and everything else, knowing full well that the vital signs and the machine, you know, the physical observations just weren't. She weren't coming back. Yeah. But I managed to keep it together for about 5 weeks, and then after about 5 weeks, I just cracked it, and it became
the shock of it.
It was really bad. I mean, I look back now, obviously I've come out of it, but I became really unwell, mentally unwell. I developed something called psychotic depression, or at least that's the label they gave me. I don't believe in labels, as I mentioned, but basically that's something which it's severe depression as you'd imagine it, but then it's got psychotic features where you'd experience things that maybe other people don't experience. Like in my case, I was hearing my mum, and I was believing things. You might have heard people talk about delusions and stuff. I was experiencing delusions and beliefs that simply weren't true. But I mean, I can look back and laugh at them now, but I was really quite vulnerable at the time. But it is quite funny, right? And I do try and kind of see the human in it. I was going to like places like the Heron Frozen Foods on Breck Road, looking for me mum. And I know it's quite sad, but at the same time, I'm in the fish finger aisle asking for me mum, you know what I mean? It's just like, but obviously, all going to the farm foods. You know
what, Matty, it's brilliant. You can laugh about that now. We can all, and that's great. And we do try and look at the lighter side of things sometimes on it. But seriously, that's so sad, though. It's a shock of it.
Is that partly because you were trained in all of this and you understand? Were you able then to sort of understand how you were feeling, or had that gone? Did you train in it? Were you were just in a different space?
I was able to. I could mask it really well, and what I was able to do really well as well was, because bear in mind at this point, I mean, I was still working for the NHS at this point. I was off sick, obviously.
Yeah.
Wasn't very well supported, truth be told, but that's a different story. Another podcast. But basically, I knew what to say to the variety of professionals that I was around in order to keep myself safe, in order to keep myself from not going into hospital, basically. So I was seeing the GP and everything else. I was seeing occupational health through the NHS and whatever, and I was seeing a counsellor at the time. He was boss, by the way, but basically, like, I wasn't aware that these things weren't real. It took. So basically, I remember a few nights I was getting up at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was having a cup of tea with my mum. Now, obviously, I wasn't having a cup of tea with my mum. But it was as real as anything. And then it took someone to point out, when have you ever known your mum to not drink a cup of tea? And I was like, well, I haven't. And they're like, well, was there still tea in the cup? Well, yeah. Well, you see stuff like that. So it's like the penny was dropping.
Oh, so you really truly believed it?
Yeah, without question, I went well, But on the back of all that, obviously I was depressed at the time, and your characteristics or your symptoms, as they call them, of severe depression. Struggling to motivate yourself, isolating yourself, low mood, couldn't, all these types of things, suicidal thoughts. So these things carried on popping in the head, and I'm proud to say that I got through it. But at the time, there was 3 suicide attempts in 2018. Didn't happen, and here we are. But and without all that, First Person Project wouldn't be a thing. So I've got to look back on these things and see kind of the triumph from it, But got through that, at least, got a bit better, and then decided in late 2018, early 2019, I was thinking, look, you've been moaning about it professionally. I made my mind up I was never going back to NHS management again for a lot of reasons. So I had to do something. So what I've done was a couple of things. I started this idea. This it wasn't even a company. I didn't have a clue at the time. I didn't have a clue about business. I went to all the usual places that you might go across the city for support with business, and asked even the most basic explanations. People were, nice, but I didn't understand what they were talking about. I'm famously not very good at maths at all. Even with all my fingers and toes out, I'm a bit crap at it. But this is the funny bit. In the NHS, I was regularly managing thousands, millions of pounds worth of budgets. I can't even count. You got to laugh, haven't you? Or you cry. But anyway, I decided, I thought, well, you know what? You're all right with the uni stuff. So went into a master's degree in business. So start a master's and at the same time start a First Person Project. And I literally had this idea in my head. And the idea, I suppose I didn't start thinking it was anything massively original. I thought that I kind of knew that it didn't exist locally because I knew the context locally. I kind of knew what the Northeast was saying as well, because I've been up that way, Manchester and things in the Northwest. But this idea that we kind of promote this idea of connection and social cohesion and togetherness. And we talk about what we can do ourselves as individuals, as part of communities, before we need to ask and invite in professionals. We kind of promote this idea of being critical about our own mental health and what the ideas mean. And then this service would be kind of by the people for the people. It would be free at the point of delivery. It would be there would be no, or there'd be very few eligibility kind of hoops to jump through. Basically, there would be no waiting list if we could help it. All of this, it was very ideal. And obviously, with my kind of really limited crap business knowledge, I didn't even think about how I was going to fund it, because obviously I didn't have taxpayers' money to use or anything like that. So what I done was I put a backpack on, and I literally came out of NHS management. I started working on the agency. So I was back on the front line as it was as a nurse. So seeing people again, which was an education in itself, because I was crap at that point. I couldn't remember how to do anything. I put my backpack on 3 days a week. I was doing the impression of a nurse, and then 4 days a week, I was basically out knocking on doors with this backpack on. And just picture the scene: some random person turns up, who probably still weren't that well at that time, and saying, "Can I come in and talk to you about your mental health?" I mean, of course, I got more doors slammed in my face than anything. Yeah. But I was like, I'm still coming back. So I go around knocking on doors, and I had a DBS certificate in one hand, and I had a nurse and a Wifley pin kind of written down in the other hand. I was like, look, I'll leave it where you go and check me out. Everything's all right.
Yeah.
Then the pandemic happened, and it was like a blessing in disguise. Now, I know for a lot of people it wasn't, of course, it was tragic, but people wanted to talk. And people felt safe because there was 3 meters between you. I still could have been a mass murderer, but they felt safe because I had a mask on. There was 3 meters between us. And I started, and it was simple things, It was, a lot of the time, it was a cup of tea and a chat. It was kind of unblocking routes into services for people. It was advocating for people. It was a bit of mentorship. It was coaching. I suppose I was using some counselling and therapy techniques, but we weren't calling it therapy. We still don't call it therapy, because that would be a professional intervention, and we don't need them all the time. And that was it. And I gained a few kinds of followers. A few people liked what we did, and then people started coming to me personally saying, "Can you train staff, and can you do some consultancy?" And obviously, at the same time as this, I'm kind of developing me I suppose, business acumen really, and my understanding of that. So I'm starting to use all the big silly words that they use in the textbooks, value proposition and all this nonsense.
Amazing.
Start talking about strategy, mission, vision and values and that.
Yeah.
Piecing it together, SWOT analysis, piecing it together. And then what started to happen was you started to see the gap. It's like, hang on a minute, this can work. We kept our overheads super, super, super low. I essentially was the product and the service. I had the time, as long as it didn't take money out, any money that came in, and then any money that did come in, we knew how to invest it in a way which was cost effective. Because our model basically involved promoting the independence of communities, people within communities, a lot of the work was done by people themselves. Don't call them not as volunteers, but it's just as active citizens, just as people helping people. So costs are low, costs are still low for that reason. And what started to happen was, like I say, got noticed, got a few really, really solid, smart people involved, volunteering. Met some guy in uni as well, John, who's still on board now. He's one of the other directors, and he's just a great sounding board. For me, I'm like a bag of monkeys with ideas, and he just kind of catches them in the net. And then we chipped away, and then a few people started to notice again, like about this time, probably about summer last year. We had a few knocks on the door from people who wanted to do some consultancy work from us, helping them to kind of write policies for the workplace and things like that. And then we won a few grants. We're a social enterprise, so and I'm staunch when it comes to that model, really. So I've always said that if we have to use grants all the time, then I'll just go back to the day job. I'll just go back to the NHS.
It's not sustainable, is it? Long
no,
term?
It's not. And the way I look at it is when I was a kid growing up at the top of Everton Road, we had a lot of organisations coming. Some of them had lanyards, some of them had clipboards, and some of them were dead well-meaning and well-intentioned, but they'd come in for a week and they'd promise us the earth, and then they'd disappear. Or they'd come in and they'd be like the Pied Piper, and they'd be throwing all sorts of stuff around, and everyone would be falling at their feet. And I remember used to think about it, and I think about it even more as an adult, and I think, as needed as it might be, like now you're creating a massive problem. Use that time to maybe help people to help themselves, like teaching themselves. And I think about it quite a lot now when I'm an adult. I've kind of tweeted quite a lot recently about things like the school grant and kind of my experience with that, and things like free school dinners and stuff like that. As important as it is, don't get me wrong, people who think that kind of just goes away. It doesn't. You know, like these kind of scars of poverty last.
What do you mean, Matty, when you say they think things like that go away? What do you mean?
You think that it's like I remember being in school and not realising what free school dinners meant, or the school grant, what it meant, really, when I was younger.
What do you mean? What it meant was that it was something that was an exception, sort of on a national level, or?
Well, at a local. I mean, I didn't understand the national level at the time, but on a local level, you know, think about the kids who got free school dinners. We stood in a queue. The kids who didn't get free school dinners could go straight to the front.
Well, I brought this up with one of my teachers who was very angry with me at the time for raising it. I remember this very conversation. It's true, and I think the way things were handled, and I've got a family member who they had it, and the mum stopped it because they had to sit at a separate table in his school, in an all-boys school. Our school was a bit more discreet. They used to give us like a silver token to give in, but you had to queue for it before school.
Yeah.
I was late for school every single day, constant. I was always late for school. So you had to get it a break or whatever, and you just stood, and that's what you did. You stood there every day and had that. I took great delight of chatting to the girl who went to private school, who used to come and talk to me in the queue, though she didn't get free dinners, which I always thought was hilarious. And you know, we can joke about it and stuff. I used to sell my dinner token, and I'd get soup in a roll for 15p, so I'd make 20p on it every day, which was loads, and I'd have £1 at the end of the week. Then clever. Do you know what I mean? But we snap about it. But I remember my mum getting the school grant, and I do have a memory of going down, which ironically is the Doubletree Hilton, going down in the bowels of Sir Thomas Street, and they gave you clothes like an emergency. This will do you, that type of thing. But where I was going at with you saying they don't go away, I didn't know what you meant, because I can look back now, you know, and I've been all over the world with my job. I used to have lovely label clothes when I was younger and all of that type of thing. And I actually ran a big gala dinner and organised it in that same hotel that was the top, you know. So I can see how things have come, you know, had a positive change for me and stuff like that. So I didn't know what you meant by they don't go away.
Yeah, no. And I see what you say. From things change, so I don't wear school gown clothes now. But in terms of, you know, not in school, no. But
yeah,
I mean, in terms of, I don't mean it. I mean in terms of like what it does to your mentality. So we went through school, and it wasn't. I suppose there was other kids as well. I suppose it's not just those who accessed the school grant. I went to Anfield, which is no longer there. It's like a car park now.
Yeah, our friends went there.
But basically, there was no encouragement. Even the smart kids weren't encouraged. And then you get to the end of school, and it's like, no. I mean, I didn't do well in school. I didn't do well. I didn't go to school. I remember thinking there was times when I particularly in a junior school, I didn't go. I remember one time in year 5, I didn't go to school for 3 months, and not once did social services knock, not once did the school board knock. I remember thinking it's weird, and I went in after 3 months, and the teacher, I won't say her name because she's probably still working, but she was only young. She said, why have you been off? Now I look back, and I think the reason I was off was because my mum weren't well. That's the way I remember it. I can't ask her, obviously she's not here. But and the teacher asked me, why was you off? And I can remember thinking, one, shouldn't you know why I was off? And then I turned around and said, I had a cold, because I was a kid and I didn't know what to say. She laughed. She said, you had a cold for 3 months. Laughed and walked away. I remember thinking, this is weird. I've been off for like 3 months. And then there was like periods, and it wasn't just me. There was a lot of kids in our school. We were off for like loads of time, you know, and making bad decisions and everything else. And then we get to 16, and it's like, I hope it's changed now. I'm sure it has changed. But it was like, girls go that way into hairdressing or childcare or whatever, and boys go that way into a trade. And it was like champion. That's what I did. I became a really bad carpenter.
Really bad carpenter.
Really bad carpenter, yeah. Didn't want to be a carpenter. Didn't like being a carpenter. But became a really bad carpenter. But these kind of like, what I suppose what stuck with me, and this is just to get back to what I was saying before, Sandra, is this kind of imposter, this idea of being an outsider. You know, next month I start my doctorate. And
that's just that is the best news. You know what? But Matty, I know loads of people who I went to a grammar school, etc., which ticks all the boxes for that being aspirational. But I can't tell you how many people I know who went to Anfield who've said, "Oh, I left school," who have a similar story to yourself, and are just such high achievers and have done so well since they left school through their own determination. You know,
it's good, and I think with First Person Project, what I hope to do, because we work with all ages. What kind of myself and the guys who our team really, what we do is we don't write people off. We don't. If you've got a story to tell, if you've got a label, if you've got a diagnosis, that's cool. If you want to talk about it, that's cool. But you don't need it to access our service,
which is amazing.
You know, we don't have waiting lists. We don't have one waiting list. There's none. And it's all this kind of, we call what we do socially progressive mental health, and it is a very socialist model. It is very much about helping yourself, helping other people, everyone getting a share of the spoils. It's very much about that. We've got people from all walks of life, from all social classes, if you believe in that, but we have got it. And I think the reason we've got that is because of this kind of, it doesn't matter. You don't have to go to your GP to get a referral. You can literally, you can DM me.
That's fabulous.
So what sort of services do you offer? If somebody was to, look at you guys on Facebook, on socials or whatever, what's the process of them coming in and what's on offer?
Okay, so what we do is so we have a variety of things that are on offer now, but rather than me sitting down and mapping out the week or the month and saying this is the timetable and designing a program, which our team could do, we've done that in other jobs. We don't do it that way. The conversation starts. So I'll give you an example. We've got a guy who we met at a food pantry in Toxteth. We had a stall there. He came to us. He wanted some support with anxiety and just with his mental health generally. We got talking about 5 minutes, and we talk about something called an asset-based way, where we talk about what that person has. And we got talking that way. And this is only 5-10 minutes of a conversation in the cold in Lodge Lane. And it turns out this guy was really into holistic ways to well-being. He was into breath work and meditation. So what we've done and what we've done with this guy is, rather than going, okay, we'll provide breath work and meditation, or we'll socially prescribe breath work and meditation, we haven't done that. We said to him, what's it going to take for you to run a session? And he said, 10 yoga mats in a space. So for the past 3 months, for the past 4 months, that's what we've been doing on a Wednesday. And all of our sessions, that's how it starts. So we've got, from the same way, we've got a writing club that started that way. We have a women's club. We have 2 women's clubs. We have 2 men's clubs. We have a mental health and wellbeing peer-led session. We have one in the north of the city, one in the south of the city. We've had a parent-baby or perinatal mental health session, which was run by, we've got 72 volunteers across the city, but the volunteers aren't volunteers in the typical way, kind of, can you answer the phone? Can you go to the shop? Can you fill that in? It's not that. We have the same conversation with those people that we have with anyone that walks through the door, and we base it around assets or gifts, as we call them. And if that person is particularly gifted in a particular way, then we will base their volunteer experience around that. And in the backdrop, what I'll do for people who, so obviously off air, I mentioned somebody that I met yesterday. There's a few other people who've come to us with ideas, with needing help or needing some support. So because of my, I suppose it's limited, but my kind of business knowledge now, I'm helping people with business planning, with strategic planning. We're trying to get them funding. We're trying, that type of stuff. So it's not a mental health service in a kind of mainstream typical sense. We talk about all roads lead to mental health, all roads lead away from mental health. So one day we could be doing a breathwork session. The next, we could be doing counselling, for example, and the next day we could literally be doing a women's group and going down the Christmas market. It really doesn't matter, because if that's what that group wants and if they're going to feel better, well, it's better than feeling worse, isn't it?
But you know what, Matty, you're absolutely right. And Helen, this is something you first put into my head that I didn't know anything about. Helen's always talks about social prescribing and like how movement and being out and about, feeling a sense of belonging, part of community, just makes a massive difference for the outcomes for people. And if it needs a lady's trip down to the market or whatever, then that's what it takes. And some of the things that can really help people in life can be quite simple things, can't they? It's just about them being inclusive, really, isn't it? So that everyone can access it. And it sounds like you are, from what you're saying, you've got a diverse group of people there, you know.
And the people is the thing as well. It's from all walks of life. We've got people who are multiple graduate universities. We've got lecturers. We've got people who've written published books. We've got people who haven't done things like that, but they raise amazing families. They're the best mums and dads I've ever seen. You know, the real community heroes. You've never heard of them, and you never will. But they're still boss. Proper champions, and it's everything in between. And the thing is, if First Person Project folded tomorrow, that still exists.
Isn't that fantastic?
That's where sustainability is everything. So I'm not naive. I'm not that naive to say that, we might not need to get all sorts of funding at some point, because we might. We're in a recession. We might have to. But right now, I'm fortunate. We've got some really good partners. We've got a really good team. We've got a lot of people who are involved, heavily involved with making what we do work. And it's one day at a time. We're doing all right. We've got plans for 2023, which involves expanding out across other areas, literally kind of parking ourselves in other areas, and not just other areas geographically, but other areas in terms of where we think we could have inroads, young people, domestic abuse. There's lots of different ways, but we try and focus on what's strong rather than what's wrong.
What's strong? I love that. What's strong? So playing to strength, focus on
absolutely
what's strong.
Which is what we always say, don't we? We always ask people what makes them shine, because whatever makes you shine and you're good at, let's nail that. Let's become the best version of that, because then everything else you can fit in underneath. And what we always do is we always look, if a little kid comes home and they've got a report card, you never say, "Oh, amazing, you got A's in this." Oh, they got a C in French. Or they got it. They never. And it's about praising the positives and really looking for their shining stars. What makes them so? When I teach the little people, I ask the parents what makes them shine, because if we can get that, and you can get the trust and everything like that, then everything else fits in. And I love your idea of asking them what they want, because quite a lot of services. And we've been guilty of this in the past. You go, this will be ace, this. Everyone will love this. And then they go, why have you put that on? And you go, well, it's just like they're good. And they go, but it's really not what they want to do. And you think, all right, okay, maybe we should have asked them what they wanted to do, isn't it? What they're comfortable with.
And one of the things that you said then that really struck a chord with me was you said about the access and the services. And you said what people can even DM me, because people wait weeks and weeks and weeks to speak to people, and we know the reasons. I'm not getting into all that, but the actual frustration for someone, if they've plucked up the courage to try and seek help, and they're in such a bad place and they've managed to do that, and then they're looking at a minimum of 6 weeks. That's a long time if someone's really in a bad place, isn't it?
I think, to be honest with you, 6 weeks is being honest. It's a lot more than that. And I think what the question that people don't ask, and I think we should ask, is, let's say it was 6 minutes, but the service isn't right. No one ever asks, is the service right? Because it's when if you look at mental health, and you look at how we try and help mental health in a mainstream service, well, you've got two main options. You've got talking therapies and you've got medication. So then if we go a step beyond that and we look at the evidence base for both, well, it's pretty shaky, and it's been pretty shaky for years. So there's a lot of evidence. The evidence base for antidepressants, for example, isn't particularly strong. And the evidence base for the talking therapies that are on offer through the NHS aren't particularly strong either. The scheme that people access now, the talking therapy scheme, at a national level, it was called IAP, Improved Access to Psychological Therapies, and each area's got its own one. But that was the brainchild of George Osborne.
This is going to freak you out, Matty, but I actually have a postgraduate diploma in service transformation CYP IAPT, which I did through Manchester Uni, because I used to be at the ADHD Foundation, and I did that. So there you go. I never thought anyone in the world would know what that was.
But I mean, it was the brainchild of George Osborne, and it was to get people back into work. And again, I'm not trying to get political. I'm just saying that the roots of it are in the economy, and getting people back into work is not a health outcome, and it shouldn't be a health outcome. It shouldn't be used as that. So where we're at now is the service that on offer. It's nothing to do with the service or the people, as It's not a personal attack. It's just looking at the model. It's even if the wait was 6 minutes long and not 6 months or 6 weeks or whatever, you could access it. It's, do we need a professional intervention at that point? My argument is not. No, most of the time you don't. I think, going back to the loneliness argument, now if somebody's lonely on the estate, we phone social services. What are we doing? Why are we doing that? If somebody, it's ridiculous. If we hear something, or if we see something that doesn't seem right to us, we're going to an authority. And I'm not saying you don't need to go to the authority. I'm just saying that you need to go to the authority, and that's it. It's like straight away. Is there nothing we can do? And when it comes to mental health, there's actually quite a lot we can do. I mean, if you're talking about physical exercise, that's great. Let's get a referral to a physio. Let's get a referral. Let's get a gym pass through the GP. Well, let's get in to see the GP first. Do you see what I mean? And then all of a sudden the opportunity's passed. Whereas if we just go physical exercise, the weather's all right, you go for a walk.
With somebody and have a little chat while you're out, and have a little. And sometimes we've been talking about this. It's why do we wait till crisis before? And sometimes it can take like a little cup of tea, as you were saying before. A cup of tea and a chat, and somebody saying you're not the only one. It's okay, and there's loads of other people and stuff, and then getting other people involved. So where is your new, because you've got a new gaff, haven't you? You've got a new space.
So I mean, we've had this little hub a minute now in Lodge Lane. It used to be a chemist. We're at the top of Lodge Lane, Smith Down end, facing the Barnsley pub. But what we do is we have our hub there. We have a small, we have use of a space in Croxteth as well, a couple of days a week on a Tuesday and a Thursday. We have use of a space in the Baltic when we run stuff down there.
Whereabouts are you in the Baltic?
Only in Baltic, just the Baltic Creative. We've got a desk space, but we can use.
We're round. You'll have to come for coffee because
that's it now.
We've got a space down there. We don't. We still got it, but we don't. We've been running stuff elsewhere, and a lot of the time, much in the same way I mentioned about me getting out with my backpack. That's where we are. We're out. We're doing stuff. On your scooter. On the scooter. Well, this is the other thing. It's like, that's. I've gone back to my roots a little bit. I didn't have a scooter then, but I've got a scooter now. And it works. We have referrals in the north of the city from the NHS, the south of the city from the NHS. School. I mean, we get referrals from literally everywhere. And when we started off the conversation talking about the figures since April, a lot of that is the models help that, because obviously we've only got 3 full-time staff. But we have a lot of other people, volunteers, people who are kind of I don't want to call them. I was going to call them like disciples, but that sounds a bit heavy. They like the model. They believe in the model. So they're connecting with each other, and then they're doing it in spaces. They're bringing kind of their ideas to us, and then we're having men's groups and women's groups and everything else. So what's happening is, where a traditional service might go, you need to jump through all these hoops to access us. There's a wait and everything else. Obviously, there's an impact upon somebody's health and outcomes, if you like, but actually not letting them access the service means that you can't count them, and you can't say like this access the service. So if your doors are wide open and your barriers are down, well, then more people are going to come through, which means obviously the head count's going to go up. So I was blown away by the number. I'll be honest, but it makes sense. It makes complete sense. We've got about 6 or 7 projects that we've ran since since April, all across the city region. Online, offline, it's just been constant.
It's unbelievable. So how can people get involved if they want to?
Literally, if you can go through social media, you can email us, we can go on the website, you can DM me, you can knock on, you can literally do. We have a referral form. The reason we have a referral form is because professionals said they wanted one. We didn't have a referral form. I didn't want one,
and that's so you can monitor numbers and things like that as well, isn't it? And you can,
it can help. But I mean, we didn't. We wanted. So we talk about. I won't swear, but we say bullocks to barriers. I won't swear, but we see that to some people as a barrier. So what we do is we give people the option. So to our professional partners, we say, if you want to use it, cool, fill it in. If not, we expect this minimum level of information on an email, or give us a ring or whatever, but you don't have to. And then we have our own way of monitoring things, on the shared drive and things like that. We kind of keep track of things, but literally the routes into our servers are unlimited. That you can literally DM me if you want. If you got my number, you can text me. that easy.
Amazing. So what's going to happen then next year? Because you said that you've done a little bit of planning and stuff for next year. So can you share that with us?
Yeah, of course. So right now, we cover the city region. We'll take referrals from anyone across the city region. I'd say, to be honest with you, I'd take referrals from the moon. It doesn't really matter. If you're willing to get involved, doesn't matter. But in terms of putting a market down in a community, we really liked Toxteth. I think Toxteth is unbelievable. Honestly,
it's got a community feel to it.
The people are incredible. The kids are phenomenal. The kids are brilliant. It's a boss place, and I've always liked it. And so we wanted to put some roots down here. That also ties into an ongoing project that we're doing, a community building project. We've got roots in the north end of the city in kind of Croxteth, Norris Green, Clubmore, through the same project as well. But I would like to continue that, because kind of we always talk about that community development will only happen by which the speed by which trust develops, basically. So you've got to keep that trust. You've got to build that trust. It takes time. So we wanted to keep doing that, which we will. And then I would like, obviously being from Everton, I want to try and put some roots down. Everton, Anfield, Kirkdale, Walton, around that area. Kenny, maybe I know Kenny really well. Done a lot of kind of growing up around there as well, hanging around and whatever when I was a kid. So something in and around it. Now we serve those areas already, but I would like to stick something down there if possible. And then there's lots of like little spin-offs as well. We've done quite a lot of work with care leavers, people coming out of kick, people coming out of prison, and we've got a lot of partners who are really committed to doing that in 2023, but have asked us to maybe help out with some stuff, which is lovely and really, it's dead nice, and it's something I'm excited about. So
it's a massive pat on the back to you and to everybody who's there, isn't it?
And really, from what you were saying about the lockdown, how it was before the lockdown, and then the momentum you've gained is incredible, isn't it? What you're doing and what your plans for next year are as well. And you're helping quite a diverse group of people in all different types. You're not just doing one thing, which is great.
Exactly, and we're committed really to so the practical stuff. Without kind of sounding cocky about it, I knew the practical stuff would work. I had to prove the concept, but in my head I knew it would work. We're proving the concept now, and we'll continue to do that and hopefully shape practice in a new way. But that's not enough. I want to shape policy and research. So hence why, obviously, I've done some research on the approach of First Person Project this past year. In 2023, I'll be researching. I'll be taking on a step further, doing a prolonged piece of work around the model or similar models that are in operation in different places. So affecting change on 3 fronts, really, hopefully.
Brilliant.
Amazing. I think we could talk to you for ages. We do have a little show that we go on, isn't it? But we're going to definitely have to get you back when you're
another hour there. That's so
10,000, isn't it? Which will probably be next week, won't it? Okay, so if anybody wants to get involved, we'll share Matty's and the First Person Project stuff, so people can get involved and stuff like that. And if they want to get involved as a volunteer or to support, and some people just like to get support in the background and maybe donate some time or donate something, whatever they feel that they can do.
People want to know how they can help you, really, what they can do.
Get us through the website. We're on all the social media platforms. Website, email.
So we'll share all of that. Brilliant. Okay. Red face moment, something slightly embarrassing that's happened. I'm sure you've got millions, Matty, and I can't wait. Sandy's got about 43 this week.
Which one shall I pick, Helen? I hadn't had any for ages, and then we've just got, I went flying last week and stuff. So, as you know, I went flying in the Starbucks car park off by the East Lancs, and was black and blue and aching and stuff. Well, I wasn't bruised, but I was just dead sore. On Friday, I went to the hairdressers, and I was running, and I got in the car, and I literally whacked the side of the car door with my own head. I was absolutely stunned for about 7 minutes. And I was on Sir Thomas Street, my parking had ran out, and I thought, if the car park person, or whatever they call the traffic warden, comes now, I'll take the fine. Because I was just like that, and I had that pain. And then at 5 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I was like, my head. And it took some ibuprofen and slept for about 4 hours. And then again, anyway, I sort of got myself together really by Sunday. So that was one of the many embarrassing.
Well, I thought Friday night was much better.
Oh God, yeah. So Friday night, and can I just say, I think I had concussion and guaranteed I couldn't have driven. So I wasn't, unfortunately, my father-in-law passed away. I wasn't drinking. I took my son out. We went and I said, right, come on, you need to come out to my son because it's his granddad. And we went into town with all the group we were with. And I said, right, I'll give you a lift home. I'm driving, blah, blah, blah. So Helen came, another friend of ours, and my son, and they got in the car. And, well, we went to go to the car in the multi-story. And I was like, oh, have you got the keys to him? And he went, no. And we looked, and I went, oh. And I tried, and he saw the key. He went, there they are, and opened the door. And I'd left the keys in the car, just in the footwell. And my phone charging, which I'd smashed my phone as well. Oh, that's a week of it actually, didn't I? And my phone was smashed, and they were howling, laughing. But I just thought, oh well, that's good, great. And another, you know what I should have said for success? I also got that letter, didn't I? And that shop had found my purse, and I went, oh, there's all kinds happened every day this week. You wouldn't believe it. But yeah, so that was hilarious. I didn't think that was embarrassing as the head nearly being decapitated.
I think it what about you? Beat that, Matty?
Yes, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about kind of like examples like that. I thought generally,
they're the ones I
can say. No, just think of it. So, like, I'm a massive Bee Gees fan.
Oh yeah, it's right, staying alive.
Jive talking is my favorite.
Everyone says, do you know, like, I get picked on a little bit about this. I am, you know, not like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like it all. Do you know what I mean? The disco era.
Like upbeat, though.
But you know what, right? I get into arguments about this all the time. Like, the early stuff that the Bee Gees did, I think it's on par with the Beatles, you know. I swear to God, it's unbelievable. I'm not even messing. They wrote, no, like, yeah, so see, you're laughing at me. See,
I've not said
you're laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah, oh yeah, support. Yeah. I'd be laughing at me, to be honest with you. No, but the amount of songs they wrote, right? Like the amount of songs they wrote that you might not realise they wrote. Do you know what I mean? Like famous, like the theme tune to Grease.
Like Hey Jude.
Yeah, no, it's the Beatles. Yeah, it's the Beatles.
I know it is. Yeah, go on.
No, yeah, imagine that. That would be good, wouldn't it? But we wrote that. They wrote like songs for, like Dionne Warwick. They wrote things like that. Do you know what I mean? Oh, and like people for Diana Ross, whatever, songs that like people know, and they go, they're great songs then. But then you go to the Bee Gees and they go, oh, you know, we're all in on the spandex and all that. You know? But yeah, no, it is. I don't know why it's embarrassing. I'm proud of it. I'm a Bee Gees.
No, I like the Bee Gees. I think
they're amazing musicians. That are, you know, and certain songs, you know, everybody will sing along.
I can't believe you haven't headbutted yourself in a car in town this week.
My embarrassing moment was we went to Karen's in Manchester on Sunday.
Forget that.
And I told them that I was a vegan. And I got taken into the middle of the restaurant and absolutely ripped to pieces. My friend, who I'm not going to take and have next to me in the trenches, said nothing.
No, that's not true. That is not true, right? What happened was, I'm already gluten-free. Helen laughs at this constantly, takes photos of my dessert whenever we go to a gala dinner or anything, and shares and goes, ha ha, gluten-free. So I watched in her and I went, I'm vegan too. Anyway, no one heard except our other friends. But because I'd already said I was gluten-free, I just thought, oh God, the two of them together, I could just be set on fire. It was bad what we did, Helen. We just walked in and they made us stand in front of the whole room and said vegan, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Never mind. But it was good.
It sounds good.
Yeah. I had to wear a hat saying
something which we can't repeat on radio.
Can't I?
No, we can't. We can't repeat.
Okay.
But anyway, shout out to the grown-ups. Grown-ups who've done amazing things this week. I'm going to give you shouting out to him. Go on.
Martin Sang, Martin Sang, our mate, who's been on the show, who's just like an ace plumber. You know, we used to have like 6 vans with all guys working to it, and he put his business down just to him because he preferred it that way. Martin Sang offered some of his time to help people who were in a desperate situation who couldn't afford plumbing work. He worked all day Saturday. He was only doing it Monday. He did loads on Friday. He did all day Saturday. He did all day Monday. He's just worked everywhere. People with leaks coming in they own their own home, so they can't get any help and support. They've got a leak coming in. The amount of people.
He's done 50 calls, hasn't he?
50 calls he's done for free.
Unbelievable.
Over all those days. But that's what he's like. That's just the kindest people we know, honest to God. He's just such a kind person. Yeah. And he put my curtain pole up.
Brilliant.
That's all.
I'm going to shout out to the tractors. So the guy who has all the big tractors that came on Sunday. And so far they've raised £42,000. And part of it's going to Alder Hay and the other half is going to the Cash for Kids to get toys or something like that.
One of them, brilliant.
And what about you, Matty? Who are you shouting out to?
Our staff team. So Caroline, Michael, John, one of our directors, and Marg. She's not on the team, like kind of like employed by us, but she does all our payroll and all our numbers and stuff. So as I mentioned before, I'm a very good accountant. She is, which is handy because I don't want to go to jail. But she's amazing. And just one more. So I'm part of a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club called Comunidade, which is a socially focused Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club trying to bring martial arts and basically combat sports to people in a way which is anti-racist, anti-fascist, anti-homophobic, all of the things that you don't want near your kids and near yourself. Comunidade are doing, and since being part of that, it's just kind of been made like kind of amazing for my physical and for my mental health, and it's because of the team that I did. So
we might get them on. They can come on and
share. Brilliant.
Yeah, we'll get them to come on and share their journey. Positive challenge. We're nearly running over, Sam. Sorry.
I realised that. Sorry.
Positive challenge that you can share with Matty. Something that people can go out and about and do this week.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, guys. So when I mentioned earlier on about gifts, and we talk about gifts of the head, gifts of the heart, gifts of the hands. So think for yourself about what gifts of the head you have. So a gift of the head is something that you know, something that you're wise about, and that you could potentially teach others. Gifts of the heart is something that you care about and that you've got passions about. And gifts of the hands is something that you can do. It doesn't have to be with your hands; it can be with your feet, whatever. But something you can do. Think about something think about those things in respect to you. Share them with other people, maybe your neighbour, maybe your mate. Encourage them to do the same thing, and then that's how we're going to start a movement, isn't it? And then we realise that the glass is half full, not half empty.
Oh, do you know what, Matty? You're our last guest of this year. Because we do our own show together next week, and we have a little drink between Christmas, and this is the third one now. You're all, and honest to God, for me, you just, everything you do is the ethos of all these gorgeous people we have on our show, everything we believe in, and what a fabulous person you are. And it didn't matter you went to Anfield, can't make, because what you bring to the table, you might as well have gone to Eton and Oxford. Oh no, well, I'm not allowed to be political, but you're doing brilliant.
Yeah, no, yeah. They're probably sagged every day they went there.
Yeah.
Well, they're sagged every day in Anfield.
Fantastic.
So I want to say a massive, massive thank you to you, Sandra. I want to say a massive, massive thank you to Matty, and carry on doing the amazing, amazing work. And, you are going to hear everyone who comes on our show goes on to do even better things. Matty.
Oh, yes.
So you're just like, that's it. Now, this is the platform for you.
Next now.
Yeah. So I want you to close the show with a mantra that you live by.
Okay. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship.
I'm even.
There you go.
I love that. I love that. And do me strong one is what was the one?
Oh, focus on what's strong and not what's wrong.
Yeah, I love that. Right. We're going to say a massive thank you, and we will see everybody next week for our little roundup of 2022. And what a way to finish it with our guests. Thanks, Matty.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.